السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا بكم. عندنا اليوم الدرس 19. We're now on lesson 19. فكالعادة سأقرأ النص إن شاء الله تعالى ثم أشرح ما فيه من القواعد. So as normal, I'll read through the text inshallah, and then we will highlight and explain that which is within this lesson from the different rules and principles of the Arabic language. So starting from here, from عمرو: أرجو أن تشتري لي هذا الكتاب من الهند عندما تذهب إلى هناك في عطلة الصيف. إنه باللغة الأردية وما وجدته في المكتبات هنا. أنا آسف، إني لن أذهب إلى الهند في عطلة الصيف. أريد أن أذهب إلى بغداد لأزور خالي الذي يعمل في سفارة الهند هناك. وإخوتك ألا يذهبون إلى الهند؟ نعم، هم أيضا لن يذهبوا هذا العام. يريدون أن يبقوا بالمدينة المنورة ليحفظوا القرآن الكريم. وأخواتك هن أيضا لن يذهبن إلى الهند هذه العطلة. يريدن أن يذهبن إلى مكة أولا ليعتمرن ويبقين هناك شهرا عند خالتنا، ثم سيذهبن إلى الرياض لزيارة عمنا الذي يعمل في أحد المصارف هناك. أتعرف أحدا من الطلاب الهنود يذهب إلى الهند هذه العطلة؟ سمعت أن طالبا هنديا اسمه خالد سيذهب إلى الهند قريبا. نعم، أنا أعرفه، هو سيذهب في الأسبوع المقبل ولكنه لن يرجع. لما؟ لأنه مريض وسيبقى في الهند للعلاج. أتعرف جعفرا؟ نعم أعرفه، لكنه من باكستان. يمكنه أن يشتري هذا الكتاب من باكستان، فإن الكتب الأردية موجودة في الهند وباكستان. أشكرك يا أيوب، جزاك الله خيرا، سأذهب إليه الآن. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وعليكم السلام، في أمان الله. So in this lesson, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to learn a number of things. The main thing, as we've been learning the present tense verb for a number of lessons, we mentioned that the present tense verb, it takes dhamma at the end if it's not got any pronoun of plural attached to it and the likes. This is a default setting, unless it's for anti. If it's for ana, nahnu, anta, huwa, and hiya, then we know it just ends in dhamma. Okay. However, there are things that come before the verb that make the verb end in fatha. From them, as we can see in this lesson, is an. Arju an tashtariya. Yani ishtara is a weak verb anyway, so it's ishtara yashtari. But when we have an, this verb must end in fatha. So it says tashtariya, and the fatha is because of an. It makes it what is referred to as mansub. Okay, that is one reason. As for, see here we have tadhabu, nothing's affected it to change. Okay, however we will see lan adha, we don't say adhabu, we say lan adhaba. As you can see, again, lan is of those particles that make the verb take fatha. Uridu an. Again, adha, how are we going to say this? Uridu an adhaba. Here we will say adhaba because of the an. Also, li. Here it says Uridu an adhaba ila Baghdad li azura. Li azura. Li again is short for li an or li kay an azura. Okay, and that li means in order to, and it makes the verb that come after it also take fatha. So that's the examples of that rule that we will learn in this lesson. We'll also discuss the different forms of negation, negation the past, the present, and the future, inshallah, as that is the meaning of lan. Lan is a negation of the future. So lan adhaba means I will not go. It's a negation of the future performance of an action. Okay, so that is what we'll discuss within this lesson. But as normal, inshallah, I will only read through the text, as upon you as a student is to make sure you know the vocab. And then once you know the vocab, you understand the conversation that has been had here, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll now go to the next pages and go through the rules that are contained within this lesson by way of explaining the exercises that you will practice these rules, inshallah, to further better your understanding of the Arabic language. So as you can see from here, number one, أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية. We know what this means now. Answer the following questions. Now 1 to 5. كل هذه الأسئلة مبنية على الحوار. All of these questions 1 and 2 are based upon the dialogue. Number 3. أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية بالنفي مستعملا لن. So here it's saying answer the following questions with negation using لن. So as I mentioned, لن negates the future tense. So here it says أتذهب إلى بلدك في عطلة الصيف. Are you going to your country during the summer holidays, in the summer holidays? So how would you answer this? For example, based on using لن, so we know لن makes the verb take فتحة or its equivalent, which we'll come to understand shortly. So لن, I'm going to say لن أذهب. For this one, I'm going to say لن. That is my negation. لن أذهب. And as I mentioned, لن أذهب. As I mentioned, this makes the verb take فتحة. So I say لن أذهب. لن أذهب إلى بلدي في عطلة الصيف. Or I say لن أذهب. So that is how you need to answer the rest of these questions using لن. Okay. So as I mentioned, it makes a verb take fatha or its equivalent. So here you can see the fatha at the end because of lan. But for verbs that are, for one, antum, anti, this is not in order of the pronouns, anti and hum, then for now, because we're going to learn the jewel later. I'm not going to mention anything about the jewel now because the jewel is also from this rule. The rule applies to this. However, we're only going to mention for these three because of that's what we've learned so far. So here, if I have antum, the pattern is taf'aluna. Taf'aluna. Okay. Anti is taf'alina. Hum is yaf'aluna. Now, the rule is when I use lan in front of any of these verbs, what happens is I delete the noon. Okay, so antum becomes lan taf'alu. Lan taf'alu. And when I delete the noon, I bring back this alif. Only for antum and hum. Okay. As for anti, it will be lan taf'ali. We just delete the noon. That's it. Taf'ali. That is a sign of fatha for these verbs. Okay. These verbs are called af'al al-khamsa. I will study them later once we know all of them, inshallah. Especially Medina book 3. Especially Medina book 3. Then hum. لن يفعلوا. لن يفعلوا. Again, we delete the noon and bring back that alif. So you're going to make sure you apply this rule as I've just shown you when answering these following questions. Then we have تأمل أدوات النفي الآتية. Ponder over the tools of negation, the following tools of negation. So here, as we can see, the have tool. What kind of sentence that is? We already know from the beginning this is a past tense verbal sentence. ذهبت إلى السوق أمسي. I went to the market yesterday. أمسي, that even highlights that it's from the past tense. ذهبت إلى السوق أمسي. Okay, now that's an affirmative sentence. Now we want to negate it. That's what is mentioned, pondering over the tools of negation. So this is the same sentence but negated in the past tense. So said ما ذهبت إلى السوق أمسي. I didn't go to the market yesterday. So ما is used to negate the past tense. ما is used to negate the past tense. Then we have ba. أذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. This is the present tense. And as I mentioned before, present tense is used to represent actions being done now as well as habitual actions that are always done. So here, أذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. I go to the market every day. Now, how do I negate a present tense sentence? لا أذهب إلى السوق كل يوم. I don't go to the market every day. So we negate present tense with لا. Then we have سأذهب إلى السوق غدا. So sa, as you know, this represents the future tense. سأذهب, I will go to the market غدا, tomorrow. How do I negate the present tense? Now, this is what we're learning in today's lesson. لن أذهب إلى السوق غدا. لن أذهب إلى السوق غدا. I will not go to the market tomorrow, or I won't be going to the market tomorrow. So we negate the future tense with lan. So it's just to ponder over. When it comes to negating sentences, what tense is the sentence? If it's a verbal sentence, especially, what tense is that sentence? Okay, and then I reflect that in my answer. So here it says اقرأ الأمثلة الآتية. Read over the following examples. Now these are going to be using the different forms of negation, but mainly focusing on lan. Mainly focus on lan because that's our focus of the lesson. We've learnt the previous forms of negation before, but our focus in this lesson is lan, which negates the future and the effect it has on the verb that comes after it, as we highlighted in this section here. So read from these 9 sentences. Make sure you understand all the vocab. Again, if you don't understand any words in these sentences, make sure you go and find out what those words mean. Then after you have pondered over these usages, أدخل لن على الأفعال الآتية واضبط أواخرها. So here, number 6 is saying, enter lan on these verbs, in front of these verbs, the following verbs, and then make precise or clear the ending of those verbs. How does the verb end? As for this one, just to give you an understanding, يغسلن, this is for hunna. The feminine plural, it is never affected. It's just always stays the same. So just don't be mistaken for that, okay? So enter lan upon these verbs and show the necessary changes that happen to the end of the verb once preceded by lan. And we'll continue to see the following exercise on the next page, inshallah. Well, that's the end of this lesson actually. So what is important for us to know and understand from this lesson, as I mentioned, is 1, the way to negate future tense. Also, the other forms of negation that we highlighted in the third to last exercise, where we illustrated a negation of the past tense, present tense, and the future tense. So then what is left really upon you to make sure these words, al-kalimat al-jadida, you are aware of their meanings and you practice using them in your language. So what is key? You memorize this stuff, you read books, like do your own personal development in the Arabic language. I really advise children's level books, especially like a book called Qasas al-Nabiyyin, which is called Stories of the Prophets for children. Now this book is excellent. It's excellent to resource, to read through, and to you see your understanding of words in use. So this is a way to apply the language. So it's important that when you're studying the Arabic language and memorizing these principles and this vocab, that you actually put it into use. How does that come? If you're pondering over the Quran, increase your reading of the Quran with tadabbur, that you're pondering over the reading of the Quran, trying to understand, as many of these words will be found in the Quran also. This is very important for you. So if you don't understand anything that we have covered in the lessons as well, don't feel shy to send us an email with your question and we will respond as soon as possible. Also, it's very important, if you don't understand something as well in one of the videos, watch the video more than once, because sometimes it may click in repetition. Don't just watch the videos once. Make sure you also complete all the exercises. This is the most important thing. Complete all the exercises, as that is the part of the lesson that affirms the rules of the lesson and then reflects that you understand. And then you can check your answers in the answer book. And if you have further questions, again, as I mentioned, just to emphasize, then please contact us and send us an email. Jazakumullah khairan, and I'll see you in next lesson. Inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.